The Kingdom of Mist and Shadow, the Fortis Amorten series. Written by Casey Torgerson. Performed by Amanda Llewellyn. Chapter 1. Odessa. Tomorrow is another full day of working on the repairs on your father's boat. I think you should head to bed soon. He needs you first thing in the morning. Mother calls down to me from up on the cliffside. We just spent the entire day at the fishing docks with Father and his small crew helping with repairs. The autumn storm season on the Western Sea has taken a toll on not only the crew, but the boat as well. While they all made it safely to shore, the rough currents pushed the small fishing boat towards the rocky cliffs south of the town docks. Father was able to get the boat to the dock in one piece, but sadly, it took a hard hit. No one is going back out onto the water till things are fixed. Every day the boat is not out on the water, we lose coin. I'll be right in, I promise. It's after supper, and I always like ending my day with my feet in the sand. I walk the water's edge as it rushes in and out with the tide. Breathing in the cool sea air always clears my mind and relaxes me before bed. I take one last look at the dipping golden sun on the horizon and turn back to the stairs and make the climb up the short cliff to our cottage. We might not have the largest home, but it is the perfect size for the three of us. Odessa, dear, can you help me with this bread? I need to get all these wrapped and ready to take into the town first thing in the morning before the market opens, Mother asks. Grace, why don't you let me help you with that? Odessa, why don't you go get washed up for bed? Father replies. My father, even with his own busy workload, has always taken the time to help my mother with anything she needs. My father owns his fishing boat, and my mother is one of the town bakers. While she usually does all the baking at the bakery, the nights before the weekly market day, she tends to double up and bring her work home. I thank my father, kiss him on the cheek, and walk to our washroom. I grab my midnight black nightgown that hangs on the back of the door and head for the tub. The water is hot to the touch, which means my father just filled it for me. I am not sure what I would do without him. He always goes above and beyond taking care of my mother and I. He always says while we might not be royalty, we still deserve to be treated like such. I quickly undress and step into the water. Something about the water is always healing. A rebirth, if you will. Your problems never feel as bad as when you're soaking in a tub full of hot water. I dunk my entire body and tip my head back as I come back up. I reach for my vanilla bar of soap and do a quick scrub of my body and hair. I dunk under the water once more before stepping out to dry off. While the water is hot, you do not want to stay in long, as the water turns ice cold quickly in the cooler months. I dress in my nightgown and race for my bedroom as the stone floor is cold on my feet. I close the door behind me and leap for my bed. I wrap myself with my warm quilt Mother made for my 10th birthday. The quilt is thicker than most, as my mother likes to double layer them to keep us warmer. She sewed on pictures of fish to represent the Monsmere territory we live in. She added trees for Mons Silvestria, fire for Mons Cygnus, and mountains for Mons Solus. The center of the quilt are dragons, to represent our kingdom as a whole, Fortis Amorten, and represent the island of Amorten where the dragon hatching grounds are located. I reach over to my nightstand and grab my hairbrush. Most people would brush their hair in the washroom. I prefer to do it from the warmth of my bed. Besides, none of our rooms have a mirror anyways. Mother always says there is no true need for one. It also doesn't help how expensive they can be. They are a want, not a need. I hear a knock at my door. Odessa, may I come in? I look up and see my father peeking in. Yes, I'm just finishing up. I brush my hair, doing my best to untangle the knots from my sea-kissed hair. The wind always brings havoc on my long waves. Here, let me. He takes the brush and sits behind me and makes long strokes down my hair. He has done this for as far back as I can remember, every night. We always have our best talks while he tends to my hair. He usually just wants to know how my day was, and I like to ask about his catch of the day. Occasionally, he has stories from the other territories to share with me that he has heard in passing. I have always been fascinated by them. I have never left Montsmere. He puts the brush down on my nightstand and begins to braid my hair in one long braid down my back and ties it off with a ribbon. How much more work do you think the boat needs before it's seaworthy again? I ask. Well, we got a lot done today. I feel we have a long way to go. It was a miracle on its own that he was able to get the boat to the docks. He smiles at me, even though I can see how tired his eyes truly are, and pats me on the back as he stands and walks to the door. He turns back with a quick glance before reaching the door. We were lucky, though. I am very thankful for your help today, and the help of the town folk to get us back out as quickly as possible. My father is well loved in our community. Wherever he can lend a helping hand, that is where you will find him. If he is not on his boat or helping Mother down at the bakery, he has taught me from a young age that if you can help, you should. It's our duty to help those around us. He gives me one last smile before closing the door behind him and leaving me alone to my thoughts. My parents have been on my case lately, asking what interests me and what path I want to take in my own life. My 21st birthday just passed, and while most girls my age already have their eyes set on a husband and wanting to start a family, I can't help feeling a pull in another direction. The only problem is, I'm not sure what that is yet. I do want to be married and have a family someday. Let's just say no one in our town, or our territory for that matter, has caught my eye. I lay down and pull my quilt up to my face as I look out the window and watch the waves crash down onto the sand. For as long as I can remember, I have fallen asleep to the sound of the sea. I am as much a part of it as it is of me. The night sky shines bright with thousands of stars. Off in the distance, I can still see the shadow speck of Amorten, where the castle stands for our kingdom. While I have not stepped foot on the island myself, my father has told me many stories of the towns and villages on the island and the great dragons that fly over. Whenever he does fish sales at the royal port to Queen Anira, I beg to join him, dying to explore the island myself. His response has always been, maybe another day. As I've gotten older, his excuses have become more and more vague. My mother's response has always been, when you're older. I'm not sure how much older they want me to be. It's not like a dragon will pick me up and eat me, or I'll randomly fall in love with one of the queen's guards. I let it go, as I hate fighting with my parents. I never won an argument anyways. They are two of the most stubborn people I have ever met. I close my eyes as my breathing becomes slower, heavier, as I drift to sleep. I dream of flying. I have had this same dream since I was a child. I am floating above the Western Sea, dipping and diving near the water, feeling the wind against my face. Watching dragons fly all around me, soaring high and low around the island of Amorten. I can see as far as the mainland and pinpoint my family's little cottage on the cliff. I turn and head towards the mainland as I glide over the town before the sea calls me back and brings me home to the open water. I feel the sun rising against my back as I'm jolted awake. I wake every morning for the longing of being back in my dream, forever soaring over the sea, feeling the wind through my hair and having the freedom to go wherever I want. Life is full of adventures just waiting for us to take the first step, my father always says. Just like every night, I dream of being free and flying above the sea. I wake to the smell of breakfast on the table. I jump out of bed and race to my wardrobe. I grab a long-sleeve white blouse with a long brown skirt and my leather belt that holds my dagger in place on my side. I never go anywhere without some sort of weapon on me. My father trained me on many weapons, from daggers to swords to a bow and arrow. I prefer my dagger, as I have a pretty good aim, and I like the way it feels in my hand. While I've become skilled with a sword, my hands always feel incredibly small. I find comfort in the handle of a dagger. Before my father met my mother, he served in the Royal Navy. He believes all women need to be able to protect and defend themselves from the evils of our world. From the moment I started walking, we began training every day after breakfast. First, just strength training and balance. As I grew stronger and older, we moved on to blocking attacks, and from there, we moved on to weapons training and self-defense. Even on days he was out early on the boat, my mother worked with me before we went into the bakery to start our day. Our evenings were always spent reading and writing, as my parents always believed an education was just as important as any life skills I learned. I have always felt I had to work harder than anyone else my age growing up. My father always says, "It just puts you ahead in life." Not that I know what I'm going to do. My mother would be happy to have me in the bakery with her. Probably so she always knows where I am. They both have always been a bit overprotective, if you ask me. They tend to say I'm a walking disaster. Bad things tend to find me or follow me. Trouble always seems to be lurking around every corner if I am around. I also cannot help that if I see someone in need of help or in trouble, I step in. They cannot get upset with me over that, as they are the ones who taught me to stand up for others. I grab my leather boots and slip them on over my feet before walking into our kitchen. "You hungry? I've got fresh scrambled eggs and sausage on the table." My mother points with her wooden spoon. "Oh, and I just picked some fresh strawberries from the garden. I'm shocked they're still growing this late in the season." The kitchen smells divine with all her fresh loaves of bread we are taking to the market this morning and the smell of freshly cooked sausage on the table. Father always says, "The best way to start the day is with a big breakfast." I can hear it now in his deep, husky voice. He always rubs his stomach as he says it. I sit down as my mother pours me a glass of milk and cuts me a slice of fresh bread. I guess that is always a plus to having a mother who is a baker. We always have fresh baked goods in our home. I eat as she cleans up and gets the last of the bread into the baskets. Finished, I head back to my room and brush out my hair and redo the braid down my back. I want it up and out of my face. I open my nightstand drawer and pull out my silver locket. It is nothing fancy. The locket itself has never been opened. The latch has been locked or broken shut. I've spent many nights trying to open it. The front side has an 8-point star etched into it, which happens to match the 8-point star birthmark on my right wrist. I mentioned that to my father and mother as a child when they caught me going through my mother's jewelry box. I have always been drawn to this necklace. Mother ended up giving it to me, saying it was an old family crest, and sometimes the people in her family have been lucky enough to have the mark appear as a birthmark. I always wanted to learn more of our family history, but all that is left is our little family of 3. Whenever I bring it up, it seems to be a sore subject, and they both quickly change the conversation and tell me what matters is our family now. The back of the locket has a small etching of what looks to be letters from a dead language. From the research I have done myself, it's a language long since lost in a time before the Great War. I haven't found a soul who can tell me what it says. I put the locket on and give it a little squeeze before I walk back out to meet Mother. "Grab those 2 baskets by the door. I've got these 2. We need to hurry. Darvan has already taken 2 baskets down to market and headed for the docks. I told him I would send you down after, Mother says in a rushed voice. She always gets panicky on market days. Market days are the only days we skip training because she usually needs an extra hand. She has never really handled stress well. Luckily, it's always just a brief moment, and she finds her groove as she's a people person and has always loved talking with anyone who will listen. I pick up my baskets and follow her out the door. For it being autumn, the day is warm. The flowers in our garden are bright and blooming as butterflies and bumblebees land on the petals for a snack of nectar. I've spent countless hours helping in our garden. I love getting my hands dirty and watching the different growing phases of our vegetables. It is exciting when we finally get to harvest the crops. Our fall harvest is just a few weeks out, I think, hollers Mother from ahead. This woman walks faster than a horse. When she's set her mind to something, there is no stopping her. I admire my mother, not only for her beauty with her thick umber hair that she pulls back with a bright red ribbon, but the delicate way she walks and presents herself. My mother is far from delicate, though. She is the strongest woman I know, yet she has this elegance about her. We make our way down the road towards town where people are up and moving. Market day is the busiest day of the week. It's the day everyone grabs their fruits and vegetables along with their favorite dairy and meats for the week. Sometimes I just sit back and observe the hustle and bustle of it all. You can find clothing, wood-carved toys, goat's milk soaps, and woven baskets. When I was a young child, I begged my parents for a wooden carving of Queen Anera's dragon, Torgerson. She's the largest dragon in the kingdom and very rarely leaves the island of Amorten. I begged till I brought tears out of my eyes. My father caved and bought me the dragon carving. It sits on my nightstand next to my bed till this day. I have always been fascinated by dragons. Dragon riders are rare and tend to bond with the royal bloodlines, but it's not impossible to be bonded and not be a part of the royal bloodline. There have been many days I have seen Duchess Kamara Yarrow's dragon, Kai, flying above the town and surrounding villages or soaring above the Western Sea. Kai is a beauty, with her dark violet scales with lilac wings and light lavender horns on top of her head that matches her spikes down her back. When her scales hit the sun just right, they shimmer from dark violet to a deep indigo. In storm clouds, she blends right in with the dark sky above. There have been many nights I watched her soar over the water. "Where do you want these?" I struggle to keep from bumping into people already packing the market. "Over on the table to the right. I see where we are set up for the day and where other baskets already sit." Mother points, frustration in her tone. I think the heat of the sun, the amount of people, and not being fully set up yet has made her on the grouchy side this morning. I race to put the baskets down and start unloading the bread and organizing it on the tables by sizes and flavors. She, of course, made one of my favorites, cinnamon raisin bread. She always makes extra for Father and I. We get everything out and ready. Her other volunteers and other bakers arrive to help. I kiss her on top of the head and race straight for the docks. I head down the stone path from town as it curves down the hills and see the docks ahead. I look back and see the small castle of Monsmer standing tall to the north. While not large in size, it sits on the cliff top overlooking the Western Sea and the main town below. The castle is well kept, with many watchtowers surrounding it to keep an eye on enemies that could come from the land or sea. It is not unusual to see guards posted at the top of these towers. While we are a smaller territory, Duchess Kamara is highly respected and loved. She is kind, just, and looks out for the people of Monsmer. She has had many schools and orphanages built and cared for. The children of this territory have always been her number one priority. There is always enough food to go around for all our people. Her twin daughters, Rune and Malaya, are just a year younger than me. I saw them many times in town when I was a child, before they moved to the island of Amorten to further bond with their dragons and be tutored by the royal tutors and train with the Queen's army. Blessed at birth, the twins were born with the dragon's mark on their backs, which sealed their future. Just like their mother, dragon bonds always seem to fall under the bloodlines of important people. It just isn't fair. Many times I have spotted Rune and Malaya home visiting their mother and father over the years. Their dragons, Lonley and Malrock, can usually be seen flying over the town with Kai. It's always a sight to be seen. I shake the thought away and focus on the task ahead of me. I make it down to the docks and find Father and his crew already working on repairs. Looks like you guys have already gotten a lot done this morning. Where do you need me? I step onto the boat. Father looks up and smiles. Over there on the sand is some wood I need brought up. Can you help the crew bring it on? He points over to the pile just to the left of the docks. I jump off and head over to help the men already making their way over. I bend over and grab onto what I can, but I feel a prickly sensation on my back that makes my body jolt. You okay? Asks John, my father's right-hand man. He has been like an uncle to me over the years. John, just like my father, served in the Royal Navy and called it quits around the same time as him, wanting to finally settle down and start a family of his own. Only he has yet to meet anyone to settle down with. John is in his early 40s, with sun-kissed skin from always working out on the boat day after day. Just like his father, his chest and arms are muscle built from the hard labor of working the fishing docks and boats. I'm fine. I'm just feeling off today, I guess. I whisper as I feel the prickly feeling again. Only this time it's sharper. Sweat begins to race down my neck and forehead. Darvan said you worked all day yesterday. Maybe you just overdid it some? Here, let me help you carry that. Hand the boards over. John demands as he reaches for the stack of wood in my arms. I look up and see Father walking our way as the docks move with the tide. He shouts, "The wind is starting to pick up. We need to watch ourselves as we carry these onto the boat." He looks over at me with a worried expression on his face. "What's wrong? You have a concerned look on your face." John jumps in before I can respond and states, "Her back is sore. I think she just overworked from all the heavy lifting of yesterday. Don't worry. I've grabbed the boards. I don't need any help with it." His eyes narrowing in on Father as if communicating something only he can understand. "Really, I'm fine. Just a little sore, I'm sure. I don't think it's anything to be worried about. Just as I'm about to say I can carry the wood myself, I feel as though fire is touching my skin. I felt the prickle over the years and never thought much of it. I just thought it was sore muscles. Now I'm not so sure." "John, leave the wood on the shore. Head into town and grab Grace for me and tell her to head straight for the cottage to meet myself in Odessa. Tell her what's going on, but tell her quietly. Be quick." My father warns. "Yes, sir." John turns and races up the stone steps that lead towards the market. Before I realize what is going on, Father picks me up as if I'm a young child and races down the road to our cottage. The fire burns into my back. I can feel the sweat of my blouse sticking to my skin. The sweat rolls down my forehead and off the tip of my nose and sticks to the back of my neck and onto my hair. I feel as though my entire body is burning up from the inside out. What is wrong with me? Father slams the door open and rushes me into the washroom and places me down into the tub. He runs out the door and races for our well out back. Just as he comes running in with the first bucket to dump into the tub, my mother and John, following close behind, come running in. She springs into action. "John, there are more buckets out back. We need to cool her down." They pour water into the tub. I feel the back of my blouse start to give way and break down as if it were ash. I hold the blouse to my chest as I don't want them to see my naked body from the waist up. That would be horrifying. I hear a gasp from behind. "What? What is wrong? I order. There is no response. Everyone is in the washroom now, surrounding the tub, looking down at me with wide eyes. While the burning in my body eases, I can still feel a slight burn and tingling in my back. Of course there are no mirrors in this dang cottage for me to look to see what's wrong and why on earth this could be happening. I look to my mother and ask again, what is wrong? Father opens his mouth to answer and Mother jumps in. Nothing, darling. Probably just hives or a reaction to something you shouldn't have eaten or touched. She races out the door into the kitchen and comes back with a small wooden box of what looks like bath salts of some kind. Here, these should help. She adds a handful to the water. The prickling feeling returns to a burn. I cry out. My father leans in to hold me as my breathing rushes. I swear I can feel my heartbeat up in my head thumping louder and louder. My mother adds another handful of what I think to be salts, and the burning stays true. I see in her eyes that she's panicking. She dumps the rest of the salts into the tub. It's not helping. I yell out, "Stop!" Darvin, pick her up out of the water. My mother races around the tub. Father gently puts his arms under my legs and tries not to irritate my back any further. He wraps his other arm around my lower back and lifts me out of the water. The burning slows to a low prickle again and eases from the sharp pains. I can still feel the sensation. It is like nothing I have ever felt before. He carries me into my room and lays me down on my bed. My mother pulls out a new blouse from my wardrobe. Wait, what is on my back? It feels as if something is there. I rise from my bed and meet her halfway. She doesn't say a word. Grace, it's not going away. You need to tell her. We knew this was coming someday. John says as he steps into the room. Hush, John. Let me think for a moment, she responds. Tell me what? I demand. Grace, Father says. Give me a second to think, Grace scolds. John walks out of the room to grab his satchel. He pulls out a small handheld mirror with a silver trim and hands it to Mother. No, we promised to protect her. We can find a way to hide it again, answers my mother. Hide what? Mother, what aren't you telling me? I beg. A sharp pain shoots down my spine once more. John and my parents all stand like stone, just staring at one another. I hold my breath, waiting for someone to answer me. My mother walks over and holds John's mirror just above my shoulder, where I can turn my head at just the right angle and see a part of my back reflecting onto the mirror. Staring back at me in the mirror is a sapphire blue with silver underlining dragon. It's a dragon's mark, clear as day on my back. It looks like it has always been there, all these years. How is this possible? I squeak out as I reach for the blouse in my mother's other hand. No one responds to the question. I'm going to head out to the kitchen and give you guys some time. I see you have fresh cinnamon raisin bread and butter out. I'll go prepare some food. I have a feeling it's going to be a long day. John turns and walks out. I pull the blouse over my head and through my arms as I let the burned one fall to the ground. I pick it up to examine what's left of it, and sure enough, the entire back of the blouse is gone, turned to complete ash. I turn and look at my parents with demanding eyes. My back no longer hurts. It's as if it never happened, but the mark is there. I saw it with my own eyes with John's mirror. I need to remember to ask him later why he carries it around in the first place. It's odd. A question for another time. Someone better start talking. I think I deserve some answers. Tears begin to well up in my eyes. I am not sure what I'm feeling right now. I've many emotions swirling around in my mind. They sit down on my bed and both take a deep breath, contemplating their next words. I don't think I have ever seen my parents this worked up and nervous to speak to me. What have I gotten myself into? I think to myself. What is wrong with me? What are they scared of? There is nothing too hard for you that you cannot overcome, I hear in my mind. I freeze in place. My eyes go wide. I must be going crazy. I'm hearing voices in my head. Did you hear that? My voice trembles, thin and unsteady. They look up at me with wide eyes, fearful. I have heard stories, but I never really truly knew. He never talked about it. I only guessed. Dragon riders keep their secrets in a very close circle. It's forbidden to share those secrets outside of riders. My father rubs his jaw and places his hands on the bed and pushes off to walk out of the room. Dragon riders? What is he talking about? He comes back in with a leather journal bound with a leather strap around it. I've seen this a few times in my childhood. I've never been allowed to touch or read it. After my parents caught me with it before I could even read, they hid it away from me. I just thought my father was a private man when it came to his journal and personal thoughts. I have a sickening feeling it's not what I always thought it was. What is this? I ask as he hands me the journal. The answers you're looking for. It was your father's, he says with sadness in his eyes. You're my father. My hands begin to shake. What does he mean this journal is from my father? He's not my father? What in the world is he talking about? My head begins to hurt. I feel as if the room is spinning. I turn toward my mother. Her hands are sweating. She messes with the folds of her skirt. Tears fall from her eyes. She stands to give me a hug. I can't help but step back. I see the hurt in her eyes, but she quickly recovers and doesn't try again. She points to the leather journal in my hands and then to the locket around my neck. These are from both your mother and your father. She takes another deep breath and continues. They were given to us to keep safe for you, if or when the time ever came. Adarvan and I are not your biological parents. No, but we love you all the same. You are our daughter, and we raised you. We protected you. We love you. We did as your parents asked. Which is what exactly? If they aren't my parents, who are? Where are they? Why didn't they want me? Why do I have a dragon's mark on my back? What does the locket and the journal have to do with all of this? I feel as if I can't breathe. I need answers, and I need answers now. I grasp the journal in one hand and my locket in the other and race out of my bedroom towards John in the kitchen. Did you know? I say a bit too harshly. The silence is all the answer I need. My parents, or whoever they are, follow behind me. I know this is a lot to take in. Your parents are your guardians. I think this is the best way to explain it. Your protectors. I was also tasked with watching over and protecting you. He answers as he walks forward. Protect me? From what? Why couldn't my real parents protect me? I squeeze the locket tighter. We were told that we weren't allowed to tell you anything. It was to keep you safe. Grace chimes in. I turn to face her when I hear screams coming from outside towards the town. Do not be afraid. I am coming for you. The voice, clear as day in my mind. Who is speaking to me? The screaming grows louder. John opens the door and looks down towards town as people begin running in all directions, further into the hillsides and away from the coastline. Mothers grasping their children screaming and crying, soldiers with swords running into the streets, heading for the docks and cliffsides. I step out of the door and run over to the steps that lead down to the sand. I cannot believe my eyes. Crawling out of the water are at least 50 Sekmars. They are said to be water demons, created by black magic from the time of the Great War over 600 years ago. Legends say they would crawl up the side of the ships and pull sailors underwater and drown them and rip them limb from limb just for fun. Their teeth gleam sharp and pointed like a shark. They can breathe above and under the water. Their blue and green-scaled tails, when they reach land, shape-shift, pulling apart into two legs to be able to walk and attack on land. Legend says once they reach land, they're quiet, which makes it easy for them to sneak up on people. And their screams are the sound of death itself. They are said to have poisonous, sharp, lengthy claws that can easily pierce a heart. They're a creation of pure evil. After magic was forbidden after the Great War, they haven't been seen again. It takes great power to not only create them, but control them, because they have a mind of their own. Monsmar is under attack from Sekmars, I yell back to Father and John. Soldiers race down as Kai, Duchess Kamara's dragon, roars down from the sky with the Duchess on her back. John and Adarvan grab their swords from the back of the closet and race down into the kitchen. Stay with your mother. Get up into the hills past the tree lines. Help the women and children. Adarvan barks out. I can fight. I am not afraid. Let me help. I am just as skilled as you and any of the soldiers heading towards the water. I bark back. He pauses and looks to Grace and John for some backup. She is right, John replies, handing me the extra sword hanging on his hip. John grabs his satchel and takes the journal from my hand and places it next to his mirror inside the bag. Put this under your bed. If anything happens to any of us, you race back here and grab it and get yourself out. Do you understand? I nod as my life depends on it. I grab another dagger and strap it to my belt and go racing out the door. Grace, direct those people up on the hill to the tree line. John, head down into town and meet up with the soldiers there. Odessa, you're with me. Stay on my back, do you understand? I tell you to run, you run. Got it? He looks at me with his don't you try me look he always gives when he knows I'm going to do the opposite of what he says. Got it, I choke out. I grasp my sword and follow him down the stone steps from our cottage to the shoreline. Chapter 2. Aiden. A knock on the door brings me out of a deep sleep. Aiden, I know you're in there. Get up! Alina yells through the closed door. I didn't order a wake-up call. I grab my pillow and slam it down onto my head to drown out her knocking. Aiden, if you do not unlock this dang door, I'm grabbing one of the guards to unlock it for me. She's not bluffing, since she does this probably once a week. I roll my eyes and toss off my blanket. I'm coming. You don't need to get the guards. My sister never ceases to amaze me. This stubborn woman drives me crazy. I unlock and open the door. What? Really? You couldn't have put a shirt on? She pushes past me and walks in as if she owns the place. You promised Ashvin and I you would let us know when you returned. Here I am at breakfast in the Great Hall with everyone else when I find out you got back last night. You didn't even bother to tell us of your safe return. I can't help but roll my eyes at her again. I was going to find you after I got some sleep. In reality, I was exhausted from the training runs around Monsignus with Fundimus before the returning flight to Amorten. I checked in with the Queen's Guard and went straight to bed from exhaustion. There you both are. Ashvin strolls into the chamber. Where's your shirt? Sure, Ashvin. Come on in. Nice to see you, too. I walk to the wardrobe and grab some clean clothes to put on. Give me 2 minutes and I'll be out. I walk into the washroom and slam the door. Sisters. I quickly dress and toss my sleeping pants into the basket placed by the tub and do a quick wash of my face to wake up and run my hands through my hair. I can never seem to get enough sleep. Someone, usually one of my sisters or Cain and Lyle, forces me to get up. I walk back into my chamber. What's up, you two? Just upset I didn't check in when I returned last night, or do you need something? I can't help but say in an aggravated voice. I know I should watch my tone and shouldn't be upset with them. They just care for my safety and like to know where I am and what I'm doing for our father or the Queen. Last night, I flew to the southern border of Monsignus, which sits on the South Sea. I made my way east till I hit our borders with Monsolus and turned back. As always, it was quiet and clear. I used the Ignis Arch at Monsignus Castle to return to Amorten faster, since Fundimus made it clear he didn't want to make the rest of the flight back. Did you stop and see Father and Mother before you returned? Alina asks. I have a feeling she's asking because every time she sees Father, it ends in an argument about when she will be ready to meet a suitor to marry and grow our family line. Her answer to him always ends up being, when I find someone who can keep up with me. She has our mother's spirit, and our father doesn't push as hard as he would like. I think that's due to our mother. She always has a way of talking both of them down off their high rocks. No, we didn't stop for a chit-chat. Fundimus was ready to get back to the island, and I was due to report back right away. Alina has a bounce back in her step after hearing that. The three of us love our parents deeply. They are good to us and love us. That doesn't change the fact that we all have a duty to our country and our territory. We are dragon riders, after all, and next in line after our parents to take over the responsibility of Monsignus. A responsibility the three of us have always taken seriously, though the Queen seems to have other plans. Well, now that I'm up and dressed, is there any food left down in the Great Hall, or do I need to head straight for the kitchens? I guide them out the door and lock it behind me. Ashvin smiles and leads the way down the south staircase, towards the kitchens. Well, guess that's my answer. I didn't realize I slept in as late as I did. I was hoping to head out right after breakfast with Cain and Lyle for a flight around the island. We hit the bottom of the stairs, make a right turn down the hall, and head for the kitchens. I push open the door and see Cain and Lyle helping themselves to fresh cookies out on the table. Do you guys ever stop eating? Alina teases as she grabs a cookie for herself out of Lyle's hand. One bonus of living in the main palace in the kingdom is it's always filled with fresh baked goods, and the best fresh fish of the Western Sea, not to mention the freshest fruits and vegetables. You'll never go hungry here. The Queen also favors her desserts, so you can almost always find a sweet treat down in the kitchens to suit your cravings. Lyle leans against the back wall with an apple in hand. He tosses it up and catches it in one swift move and offers it over to Alina. My lady. He's been trying to gain Alina's attention for months now. He asked me last autumn if it would be okay because he is one of my best friends here and she is my baby sister. He didn't want it to be weird. He also asked Father, who was absolutely thrilled. Funny thing is, she has spent the last year denying him, but he refuses to back down. I think she secretly likes the attention, but will never admit it, because that will be giving in to exactly what her father has been asking of her, and she is too stubborn to give in. Alina and Lyle have always been close, though, since arriving here at the island. He is one of her best friends. Thank you, but I could have gotten it myself. She grabs the apple from his hand and flashes a devious smile at him, giving him a wink. Kane reaches for another cookie and hands it to Ashvin. What's on the agenda for the morning? Are we still flying out over the island? He leaps onto the table to sit and faces me. That's the plan, unless you guys have anything else in mind. It's Saturday. We have no training or lessons today. Were you planning on inviting us as well, or is this a boys-only adventure? Alina questions, her arms crossed in front of her. Of course you are always invited. I just thought you would want to walk through the market in the castle courtyard like you do every Saturday. I grab an apple for myself as I walk towards the door with Kane and Lyle at my heel. I think a group flight sounds lovely this morning. The sun is shining bright with only a light wind on the eastern part of the island between us and the mainland. Let's go, Ashvin says as she skips past the door and down the hall to the stairs. It's decided. The 5 of us are hitting the skies. Fundimus, you close? Always. We'll meet you down at the West Dragon Landing. It's market day, and I'm sure the courtyard is already full of people. We all head for the West Dragon Landing. I don't need to ask the others if they've called their own dragons. As we step outside the doors, we face 5 dragons waiting for us. Fundimus, standing tall and proud as always. He is one of the larger dragons here on the island. You can't miss him. With his dark orange scales and his golden undertones down the front of his chest, his bright ruby red horns that match his spikes down his back and tail. He is the pure definition of dragon fire. Then you have Alina's dragon, Ruforma. Her deep red scales and wings have a black shimmer to them with matching ruby red spikes. Her chest scales are larger, like a warrior's armor. She is deadly in the sky. Just like her rider, she can have quite the temper. You don't want to get on her bad side. Ashvin's dragon, Kalfek, is midnight black from top to bottom. Just like Ruforma, he is deadly in the sky. Ashvin has done many night patrols. No one will ever see her coming, because she blends in with the onyx skies. They are true shadows in the night. Black dragons are one of the more common colors, which has its advantages in battle, especially in the late hours of the night. Lyle and his dragon Venlu is also deep black from head to claw. His spikes run from the top of his head down to the tip of his tail. The 2 of them get sent out often on the Queen's orders to watch over the South Sea. Nothing new is ever reported, but they get sent out on a monthly basis. Ashvin with Kalfak will join every so often. 2 black dragons stalking the night sky is always better than 1 in my opinion. Guverius, Kane's golden-scaled dragon, is one of the fastest dragons across the entire land. Second in size behind Fundimus, there is not a dragon on the planet who can beat him in a race. Believe me, we have all tried. All 5 dragons stand lined up for us to climb our way up onto their backs. Ready for some fun? I ask. I was expecting a smaller group this morning. Alina and Ashvin wanted to come. I can't really say no to them. Sure you can. It's easy. Here, let me help you. No. I sigh and let it go. He is always grumpy after such a long flight the day before. He feels tense in his back. I feel it through the bond as I sit down. What's up? I know it's not the girls coming for a flight that's got you on edge. There is something else. The wind feels off. It seems angry. I can't quite pinpoint it. I think you just need to learn to relax and have some fun. The wind is in our favor today. Feels fine. He lets out a loud roar and leaps into the sky. Okay, apparently we are done discussing this. There is no arguing with a dragon. They're more stubborn than my sisters, and that's saying something. We might think we are in control, but in reality, it's the dragons who have full control and choose to coexist with us. It's an ancient relationship that was created thousands of years ago. I look back and catch sight of my sisters, Lyle, and Kane pulling into formation. We aren't training, you guys. Fly freely. It's our day off. I yell back to them. Kane breaks formation first and speeds past in the blink of an eye. It will never get old seeing how fast Guverius can fly. Ashvin comes up next to me with a grin on her face. She signs, "I love you," and proceeds to fly in front and cut us off. I can hear her cackling, and she turns around and waves. Fundamus grunts in frustration and dives lower near the water's surface. He's always been one for formalities. I look up and see Alina and Lyle racing to catch up to Ashvin. These are the days I love. We have the weight of the world on our shoulders, with pressures not many others will understand. The responsibility in keeping our kingdom safe isn't just on our queen. It falls to the riders. We deserve to have fun whenever we can sneak it in. I've seen firsthand how that stress affects each of us. We all put on a show on the outside because there is no other option, but we all have an inner battle we are fighting. It's nice to see everyone smiling. We fly for some time just enjoying each other's company, soaring over the open sea. Kane circles back with Gaverius and dives down to level out above the water to the right of Fundamus and I. "Are you feeling the shifts in the wind? Something feels off," he shouts. Fundamus growls in agreement. "A storm coming." I look in all directions, trying to find the source of the change in winds, only I'm not seeing any storms on any horizon. The sea below begins to create larger waves. There is nothing natural about this. Maybe we should head back to the island, or make our way to Monsmere till whatever this is passes. We're already halfway to the mainland. We can use the Mare Arch and get back to Amorten instead of fighting the winds and the rough seas, Kane suggests. "Get up to the others and we can decide from there," I say. I harden my grip as he launches up. Kane follows close behind. "I think it's best if we head for land as quickly as possible. I feel something dark in the air. An energy of some sort. Something is wrong." We reach the others. "Reforma says something doesn't feel right," Alina calls out. We need to head for land. While dragons are used to flying in rough weather conditions, if they're telling you to land, we land. Dragons have a sixth sense. They are more attuned to the natural energies of the world around us. "Let's head for Monsmere. When we arrive, we can take the Mare Arch back to Amorten." I wave at the others to fall in formation behind me as we head southeast towards our destination. As we make our way to the mainland, Fundamus lets out a roar. "What's the matter? What am I not seeing?" "Perduri is behind us." "Who?" "Perduri. She took off from the island not long after us and followed us out here. She says her rider is in trouble. I am not aware of any rider who has a dragon named Perduri." I look over my shoulder, and sure enough, coming up behind us is a dark blue dragon with a silver underlining, flying as fast as her wings will take her. Her scales reflect off the water, mirroring the sea's changing colors. She roars out as she approaches us. She banks straight east for the town and castle of Monsmere. The dragons all follow her lead. So much for our day off. Kai is calling for aid. Duchess Chimera's dragon? Aid for what? Sekmars. Sekmars? They haven't been seen for over 600 years. No one has the magic to create them anymore. It's forbidden. Apparently, that's not the case. You aren't suited. Not a question, but a blank statement. I curse myself. How could I be so stupid? I never leave anywhere without a sword strapped to my side. I have a couple of daggers strapped to my belt as always, but I am not even wearing my flight leathers. None of us are prepared for battle. I can see Father shaking his head at all of us. We know better. We are trained to always be prepared. No such thing as a day off as a dragon rider. Perduri roars out again as we have Monsmere in our sight. She picks up her speed. She can give Cain and Gaverius a run for their coin. We hear the echoes of people screaming. Kai dipping low near the sea's surface, breathing fire along the coastline. Kai says there are well over 100 Sekmars and more as we speak, coming up from the depths. They have already made their way into town. People are trying to evacuate to the hills above. Your fire should kill them, or drive them back to the water, but we can't risk setting any of the buildings in town on fire. We fly over the town to get a better look at the battle below. I've heard my father's stories of the horrors of our past. Nothing could have prepared me for the sight of seeing them in person. Easily a foot taller than the soldiers battling them tooth and nail, their claws slashing out at whoever crosses their path. For every Sekmar that falls, more crawl out of the sea to replace it. I look over at Duchess Kamara. She and Kai take out a whole row of Sekmars climbing onto the boat docks. Kai sets them all ablaze, including the docks themselves and all of the fishing boats that are anchored. Tell Reforma and Kalfak to help Kai with the ones coming out of the water. Tell Gaverius to drop Cain off in the hills to aid the people out of harm's way. Have Venlu take Lyle to the castle gates and get people inside that are too far from the hills, and kill any Sekmar who crosses his path. I am not sure where Perduri has gone. We do one more circle around the town before I have Fundamus fly low enough on the outskirts of town near a cottage on the cliffs for me to jump off. He takes one last look back at me, making sure I make my landing, before joining the battle on the sea's edge, following Kai's lead. I race down the road towards the main street of town when I see that many soldiers have already fallen. It's a bloodbath. I come across a soldier who has long gashes across his face and puncture wounds in his chest. Not just soldiers, but all people. Women, children, and men. People who didn't make it out in time. They had no warning. This isn't supposed to be possible. I reach down and grab a soldier's sword and run towards the screams. My blood is boiling with anger. I have too many questions that need answers. The town is crawling with soldiers locked in battle with Sekmars. While they might not have swords, their pure size, speed, and claws, said to be filled with poison, are enough to bring a grown man to their knees. I race to help a man who just took a claw to the back, and I follow the gesture and drive the sword into the monster's back. I twist the blade through to his heart till it comes out the other side. He releases the man as I pull my sword back out. I watch it collapse to the ground, screeching in pain. I reach for the man, who's trying to brace himself against one of the buildings, struggling to breathe. "What is your name?" I say as I reach to hold him steady. "John." I help him sit against the wall. Blood is pouring down his back as he begins to cough up blood. He doesn't have much time. I haven't seen your face here before. Who are you?" He chokes out. "My name is Aiden Stoll. My father is Duke Zyron Stoll of Monsignus. I am one of the dragon riders of our kingdom. I am here with a group of other riders. We're here to help and fight alongside of you." John coughs up more blood. It's coming up black. The Sekmar claws are poisoned. No question now about that. He falls towards the ground. I catch him mid-fall as he chokes out one last word. "Odessa!" His body goes limp in my arms. He's gone. I lay him down against the building out of the way from the others fighting as I hear a scream from behind me. "John!" A young woman comes running for us, sword in hand. She's covered in blood. None of it looks to be hers. Her hair is falling out of her braid and sticking to her neck. Sweat falls down her face. Her breathing is heavy, tired from fighting. Yet something about her glacial blue eyes has sparks of fight left in them. I've seen those eyes before. What happened? She falls to her knees beside us, gently touching John's face as tears fall down her cheeks. A Sekmar attacked from behind. I gesture to the dead monster to our left. I step back and give her some space. I don't know who this man is to her, but she cares for him. I take a quick look around, and I see the streets are beginning to clear out. More of Duchess Kamara's soldiers are entering the streets in larger waves and pushing these demons back to the water's edge for Kai and our other dragons to take care of. The townfolk head to the hills, where I can still hear screaming in the distance. The soldiers haven't reached the people who fled for safety. I know Lyle can hold them off for a while, but he is going to be needing some backup. The girl stands as she wipes away a tear and reaches for John's sword and unclipped his dagger belt that she proceeds to wrap around herself. Thank you for your help. John was a good man. He didn't deserve to die like this. I'm sorry I couldn't do more. I hate to leave you like this, but I need to connect with my other riders. She looks back at me like she's seen a ghost. You're a dragon rider. Before I can answer, a roar echoes from above. Both Fundamus and Perduri circle the town above. The girl's head shoots up. Lyle is asking for help. We cannot penetrate the tree line without risking setting the forest on fire. Kane will meet you. Alina and Ashvin. Reforma and Kalfek say they're fine. Keep an eye on them. Perduri says her rider is near. That is not my priority right now. I turn to face the girl. Can you guide me through the town up to the hills? She nods and takes off through the streets. We wind our way up narrow streets filled with bodies laying across the roads and people crying. The screams grow louder as we approach the building's edge. She doesn't bother to look back to see if I'm still with her. She's flying through the street. My eyes narrow in on a rip in her blouse across her left shoulder. I spy what looks to be blue ink. A dragon's mark? Perduri soars above and lets out a roar that echoes through the street. The girl tenses up, but keeps her stride forward. We whip around the corner and come face to face with a battle. Lyle found a weapon off a fallen soldier, I'm sure, and is head-to-head in battle with a Sekmar who is heading right for a group of women and children running behind him. The demon is slashing left and right, trying to get a shot at Lyle's chest. I race for him, but the girl beats me to it. She pulls out a dagger from her belt and launches it into the demon's head. It collapses to the ground. She reaches to retrieve her dagger and takes her sword and cuts off his head. Thanks, is all Lyle can say before she races for the tree line, her sword in hand, fighting as she goes, taking the demons out one by one. I've seen many warriors in my time, but not many can move with the speed she has. I'm not sure who trained her, besides the fact they did an incredible job. I follow her line of sight and see a man in combat against a group of Sekmars fighting all on his own. He moves just like her, dipping and dodging every claw that comes his way. Lyle and I follow close behind. The man is outnumbered and is in need of some major help. She launches a dagger into the arm of one. It screams and tries to pull it out. "Odessa, get out of here!" the man yells out. She ignores him and swipes her sword towards the closest demon. It anticipates her move with quickness that shouldn't be possible and swipes for her chest. Just before it reaches her, the man shoves her out of the way and takes the full hit of the demon's claws and falls to the ground. She pushes off the ground and grabs her sword to face the demon, but I am already upon it. Lyle and I work together to take down the remaining Sekmars that begin to circle around us. "To your left!" I hear Kane yell as he runs towards us. He launches a dagger and hits his target. The Sekmar drops. I do a swipe with my sword for good measure. The girl stands over the man and begins to sob. "No, no, no." She's shaking uncontrollably. She tries pulling him up to her, but he's already gone. "I need you. Please, please don't go. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. This can't be happening." She touches her forehead to his and pulls a ring off his finger. Tears fall down her face. She doesn't bother wiping them away. Shouts come from behind us as soldiers are locked in battle with the remaining Sekmars. They're driving them back out of the trees and down toward the water's edge. The girl grabs her sword once more and stands to face the battle at hand. A darkness enters her eyes. She races for the trees. Come on. I motion for Cain and Lyle to follow. Our swords collide with the remaining Sekmars. Get these things down to the water's edge so the dragons can finish them off, I order. I race to catch up to the girl as she zigzags inside the trees. Grace, she yells out. Has anyone seen Grace? She was helping people evacuate. As we climb further up the hill, people begin making their way back down as the forest begins to clear out and fighting ceases from above. The screams and cries die out in the distance back towards the town and castle. Dragons roar out in victory as they burn the demons alive. It seems we actually did it. Who's to say they won't return, though? That's a problem for a later time. She races to each body she finds on the ground, checking for Grace, whoever she is. Every person we pass looks exhausted. She asks if they've seen Grace. A woman holding an infant in her arms comes towards her. They chased us down to the North River crossing. Grace made sure we all got across. She took on 2 by herself. Your father trained her well. She was incredible. She took both of them down, but not before one lashed at her with its claws across one of her arms. She fought it till it slipped into the river, bleeding out from the hit she got right across its chest. I ran back for her, but she screamed at me to keep running. As I began to turn back, it popped out of the water and grabbed hold of her leg. She slipped and tried to grab hold of the bridge and fell into the river. She never resurfaced. The woman's eyes began to tear up. I'm so sorry, Odessa. There was nothing I could do. Odessa drops to her knees and screams. Above us, a dragon flies over the trees and roars out, mirroring her pain. My heart breaks for her. It is then that I realize Odessa is Perduri's rider. We hope you have enjoyed this production of The Kingdom of Mist and Shadow, the Fortis Amorten series, written by K.C. Torgerson, narrated, directed, edited, and engineered by Amanda Llewellyn and Dawn Miller. Text copyright 2026 by Torgerson Publishing. Production copyright 2026 by Torgerson Publishing. All rights reserved.